a Gotland skin boa. You never know. I've got it. It's nice and warm as well. I've already had it on a couple times. Because up here at the cabin, it snowed. It snowed last weekend.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Pam says she loves me.
Hello and welcome to Cabin Boy Knits. I am Christopher, your host, and this is episode 2. This will be completely dedicated to Rhinebeck. I went to Rhinebeck for the second time, so I knew what I was going to expect, but one thing that I didn't expect was how much fun I was going to have. I had an amazing time, and it was spectacular. So what I wanted to do was share my road trip with you, talk a little bit about that, and then also talk about my haul. Actually, when I came back across the border guard didn't believe me when I said the yarn was just for me. He thought I was a distributor and that I was going to be selling it. I had so much yarn, but I had a lot of fun and it was totally worth it. So I left on Thursday, the day before Rhinebeck actually started, and actually 2 days before it started. I got there Thursday night and I had to be there Friday morning at 9 o'clock because I had an interview with Kristy Glass, and what an amazing interview that was. What a wonderful experience. I showed up at her place and she said to me, just go into the studio. So I went into the studio and she has a beautiful place. It's really, really stunning. The studio is absolutely gorgeous. There's a lot of natural light coming through and the windows overlook the forest. It's absolutely beautiful. So I sat in there, she came in, she said, how you doing? I said, fine. She said, I like meeting people right as I'm recording. And I just thought, what is this all about? And so she turns on the camera and starts recording right away. And that's not how I roll at all. I usually plan things out. I like to have a list of what I'm going to talk about. So this was completely spontaneous and it was magic. It was absolutely wonderful. So I've learned a lot from her, and I really appreciate the fact that it was spontaneous as well. We covered so many topics, and I'm not even sure, I can't even remember everything that we talked about, but you know, Kristy is very articulate, she's smart, she's very business savvy, and she's also stunningly beautiful as well. Honestly, when we were talking, probably a minute into the conversation, I completely forgot that the camera was on us. So looking forward to the interview, which is going to appear in March. That's the month that she profiles men in knitting. And you know, when you look at the work that she's done so far, it's been fantastic for men. She's really increased the profile of men knitting. And so shout out to Kristy for that. I really, really appreciate everything she's done. After I left Kristy's place, I went into Rhinebeck to meet a friend, Tim Cardy. And Tim Cardy owns a yarn shop in Santa Barbara. He's a fantastic guy and extremely knowledgeable about the yarn industry. And so we had lunch together, we talked about yarn and wool and the industry, and I learned so much from Tim, and I just think he's an amazing guy. So if you're in the Santa Barbara area, make sure you check out his yarn shop. It's called Cardigans. I will also put a link to it on at the end of this cast. So we puttered around Rhinebeck. It's a beautiful little town. And then we went into Yarn Garage. And I wasn't planning on buying anything because my big haul was going to be the next day at Rhinebeck. However, I saw some Donegal yarn and it was dyed in Rhinebeck. And my daughter's going to love this color. She asked me last year for boot cuffs. And I said I would do it, and I didn't get around to it. So I'm definitely going to be getting around to it. This time, I think in my head I know what the pattern's going to be. So I'm going to get to that, and I have no excuse because I've got the yarn now. After that, I went up to Germantown, stayed with a bunch of guys from the men's knitting retreat, and then the next day headed down to Rhinebeck. And, you know, a lot of people have mixed feelings of Rhinebeck, and, you know, it's too busy, there's too many people, but it's fantastic. I love it. I had an amazing time. There are a lot of people, but the electricity in there is fantastic. Everybody's in a good mood because they're going to be surrounded by yarn shortly, and they've got their Rhinebeck sweaters on. And so you know, it's a magical place. The electricity is fantastic, and I love it because even though there are a lot of people, and I'm not a crowded person, I don't like crowds at all. However, there was plenty of space for me to talk to farmers and shepherds about their sheep, and also have conversations with dyers as well. So even though it was crazy, I had tons of time to talk to the people that I needed to talk to, and I talked to a lot of people. And usually before I go to any festival, I do my due diligence on all the vendors, identify which ones I want to spend time with and talk to. But there were 300 vendors at Rhinebeck, and I started doing this exercise and I just thought, I don't have time to go to all the websites. So that just went out the window, and I just went by gut feel, and you know, and I think I had a lot of success in it. But I arrived there and I had my knitting bag, and my knitting bag is not big, so I thought, what am I doing? I do not have proper baggage to carry my haul. So my first stop was Wellspring Farm. And check out this bag. That is Hannah on the front of the bag. Hannah is a Jacob sheep, and Wellspring Farms is they have Jacob sheep on their farm. I love Jacob sheep. I have a history with Jacob sheep, and the thing I love about Jacob sheep is when I pick up wool, Jacob sheep wool, it speaks to me, and I can, you know, think about, like, right away. I've got a project in my head, and that's what I love about it. And they're also cool looking as well. So anyway, I picked up a skein of Jacob sheep yarn. I've got a bunch of it here as well. So I was able to maintain myself and only pick up one skein. So very happy with that. Then I went over and I could sense that there was Gotland somewhere around, and I love Gotland sheep. They're one of my favorite sheep. So many things I love about it. The shine of it when you're looking at it, it dyes so beautifully. They're just absolutely stunning sheep. And so I went over to Skoog's farm, and they're from Florida. Actually, I met them last year at Vogue Knitting Live in New York. I had a chat with them there. And I didn't pick up any Gotland yarn because I've got a ton of it here. And so what I did buy was a skin. And it is perfect for a scarf. And it actually reminds me of my grandmother. My grandmother had a beautiful sheepskin coat. And so this kind of reminds me of my grandmother every time I see it. Most of the guys that I was chatting with afterwards thought it was a boa. So I guess it could be a boa if I have an occasion to wear farm. I happened upon Windsong Farm. And Windsong Farm has Wensleydale blends. And it's Cotswold and Teeswater and BFL. And what I love about this, absolutely love about this yarn is, if you can see, I'll hold it up to the camera, but the dye, this is all naturally dyed yarn. And it is beautiful, absolutely stunning. They did a brilliant, brilliant job. You can see the hue on the yarn as well. I love it. I'm very, very excited about this. And this is the type of thing that inspires me. These colors are amazing, and you know, I absolutely love it. And so this is a prime example of why I love Rhinebeck. The natural dyeing that was there was better than I've ever seen anywhere else. It's truly stunning. And this yarn, I can't wait to do something with it. But even looking at it too, it inspires me to push myself in the natural dyeing space. So I absolutely love that. The next place I wanted to stop, I definitely wanted to stop at Finn Sheep. I've watched Finn Sheep on the Kristy Glass show, and just love everything about the farm. Just love, you know, the way they farm, the way they treat their sheep. So I had to pop by and say hello and buy a couple skeins of yarn. And I love Finn Sheep yarn as well. So this will dye up quite nicely. So I'm looking forward to that. Then, you know, I had a couple surprises. And surprises meaning, you know, I was knocked off my feet at a couple of vendors. And while there were tons of great vendors, the next one, Solitude Wool, I felt like I found my lost sister. It was amazing. I don't know for people who aren't familiar with Solitude Wool, but it's basically, and I'm hoping getting this right, but I will put a link to Solitude Wool underneath the webcast in the credits, because their website is definitely worth checking out. What I love about their website is they talk about wool, they talk about the benefits of wool, they talk about the different breeds of wool, and they tell their story. It's basically 5 individuals who are shepherds and also fiber artists, and they get together, and what they do is they look for breed specific sheep, they use local farms, they use local mills, and they pay a fair price for their yarn. So their yarn, I was a little shocked at the price, but then when you read into the story, I felt so great about supporting them. I love this company. It's fantastic, and everything they stand for is near and dear to my heart. So I was so pleased to have an opportunity to talk with them as well. And this is Border Leicester. So what I'm holding up now, the Christmas colors are a Border Leicester, and these are naturally dyed. And look how vibrant and colorful they are. So I was, so excited and pleased to have met them, to have had a conversation with them, and to have purchased their wool. So I strongly encourage you to go onto their website. And then, it just keeps getting better. I happened upon Jamie Harmon, and she's from Jericho, Vermont. And look at this. These are naturally dyed. And, it's one thing I love is when you hear a voice. You hear the voice of the dyer. And what I mean by that is, if I were to hold up Jamie's yarn anywhere with any vendor, it was a mixture of like 30 different types of natural dyed yarns, you would be able to pick hers out. Her voice is very strong, and I love it. And she is so humble. We probably talked for about 20 minutes about the natural dyes that she uses in this yarn. And this is Merino, Angora, and Alpaca. And it's beautiful, it's nice and soft, but the dye work is stunning. And she's been doing this for 30 years. So check her out as well, Jamie Harmon. And she is located in Jericho, Vermont. But what a fantastic chat we had. I was so happy. And I'm just thrilled, absolutely thrilled with these 2 skeins of yarn. And then the last yarn I bought a couple of undyed yarn that I'm not showing you, but it's basically all along the same lines and with the same vendors. But the last one, I thought it was done. I thought it was finished. And then I happened upon this baby. And this is mohair wool with a touch of nylon, and it's boucle. And I do not usually knit with boucle, but I love the color. I thought the color was awesome, and this is also naturally dyed. And I think I might knit a jock with this, but I'm not sure. But it's really cool. It's nice and soft. I probably will knit a jock with it because it's nice and soft, and it's a pretty cool color. So very, very happy with that. So I was finished my yarn shopping, but I wasn't finished shopping. There were buttons to be had, and so I bought a bunch of buttons. A lot of them are deer. This is a deer antler, so a couple of deer antlers, and then a couple of deer buttons. And I thought they were pretty cool. So I've got actually a poncho that I'm knitting right now, and I think that would look pretty cool on the poncho. And that's from Favor Valley Woodworking from New Hampshire. And so they had a bunch of them, and they were reasonably priced. So very, very happy to see them. And then the last set of buttons I bought were Frosty Farms, and they're Icelandic. And they're pretty cool too. So I'm working on gaiters, and because when I walk the dog in the winter, snow gets in my boots, and I hate that. So I'm having a pattern tested right now, and they're gaiters, but I think that the buttons will look nice on the side of them. So I'm thinking about that. Anyway, after I finished that, I packed up and I met Corrado Lark, and we had arranged earlier just to go grab a coffee and have a chat and catch up on all things knitting, what's going on with him in the knitting world, and because he's had lots of success lately, and so we just wanted to have a chat with him, see how that's going, and just hang out with another knitter. And so we had a great chat, and he's a super guy. So that was a nice ending to my Rhinebeck experience. Then I headed back to Toronto the following day. Again, I told you about my border story where they didn't believe that all the yarn was just for me, but I smiled, and hopefully that helped. But I was waved through. So I would say Rhinebeck was definitely one of the highlights of the year. The people are absolutely fantastic, and they're so friendly. Everyone is so friendly, and I loved having access to the various farms and the dyers, and so I will definitely be back next year. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you, and I hope everyone's doing well, and I will talk to you in my next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.